How do you help your friend come to her damn senses? What do you do when your mum is getting involved in your dating life and not in a good way? How do you handle it when your insecurities are ruining your relationship? And what about when your family wants you to date a particular type of man, but you're not into it and it's narrowing your dating pool way too much? What's up? It's Ask Mark, and it's great to have you on here for another week. So if you don't know who I am or what we're doing here, this is the weekly video. We're up to week 11 now, and you guys are getting really behind this. You're watching. So I really appreciate you sending in the wonderful questions. And we've got some awesome questions this week. They're involved this week and they're about particular situations. So I think you're going to get heaps out of it. First question is from 𝐀𝐁𝐎𝐔𝐓. Maribel says, "Mark, I need your help." Okay, so my friend Christina found out her boyfriend cheated on her, and I told her to leave him. And she said she needed him. But the thing is, I also told her that a cheater will always be a cheater. She's only 17 years old and I'm 16. Wow, this is really cool awareness for a 16-year-old, Maribel. Congrats on that. I told her that she can find someone way better that can make her smile and be loyal to her because she deserves better. That is so cute. You're such a good friend. You're a good friend. I like you, Maribel. Help me out here. I don't want her to be one of these girls that runs back to their boyfriends after he cheats on her, or it could be worse for her in the future. What if he starts abusing her because she lets him do it, do whatever he wants? I don't want that to happen. Let me tell you about a little story that I heard from a good friend of mine. It was between a lesbian couple, actually. And very briefly, what happened is this. One woman cheated on the other repeatedly. She kept forgiving and forgiving. And then eventually the parents of the woman who was being cheated on, or the mum, I think, sadly passed away. And that meant that there was a big inheritance or investment fund coming down. And the two chatted and decided how to spend this fund, and that they would go on a holiday to Europe together. I think it was, I can't remember where exactly. But they were going on this European holiday away. And they planned it, and they were so excited to go, and they were really getting their relationship in order, or at least this woman thought that they were. And literally at the airport, they walk off the plane, and this woman had her partner leave her for a man who was waiting at the airport. That was it. That was how their relationship ended after 10 years of disrespect. And you're an amazing friend because you don't want something like this to happen to your friend. The problem is this woman, she needed that much pain and that much learning before she learned a damn lesson. You know, I've had two particular close friends of mine who have sought advice, and I've been willing to help them, and then they haven't followed it because they're not coaching clients, they don't take it seriously, and they don't want to change their lives the way you do if you're watching this. So here's the thing, if someone doesn't want to change their life, there's no way you can make them. Fear is driving her. Comfort is driving her. That's something you can see from the outside, but she can't see that because she's in there. She needs to experience enough pain that it drives her to realize that her comfort zone isn't the place she wants to be, and she hasn't experienced that yet. Now, this is relative, because why do some people get out straight away when someone cheats on them, and why do others leave it 10 years in an airport later before it happens? Because of self-esteem. It's because of how we feel about ourselves relative to our fear. So if you have high self-esteem, you're less likely to tolerate these subpar treatments and conditions, and you're more likely to just tackle your fear and go after it. So here's the one thing you can do for your friend. You can't force her to do anything, but you can help her raise her self-esteem, and that's going to raise her standards and make her want to change internally. There's nothing you can say to make her change directly, but what you can do is make sure she's building her self-esteem and building herself up, because that's going to make her want to change and give her the fuel so that she's more like a client than one of those two friends I talked about. Now, how do you do this? Self-esteem comes part as to the people we're around. So you act in a high self-esteem manner, you know, surround her with more friends who have high self-esteem, and she's going to see all her friends getting treated respectfully and in nice ways, and she's going to realize that she doesn't have to accept that. We tend to become like the people we spend the most time around, so make sure you and your friends and her social circle are setting the right example. and do things with her, encourage her to do other activities outside of him, challenge her fears in other places that build up her self-esteem, so that eventually she gets to a point where she can have a triumph over her fear and sitting in her comfortable place. So I really hope that helps Maribel. You can't change someone, but you can help her become the kind of person that can change herself. Now, the second question, good ones this week. They're all good. They're a bit detailed, but love it. Renata asks, "Hi Mark, your videos are just great." Thank you, Renata. "I'm in a very happy relationship, congratulations, but I still find a lot of your advice helpful and have showed some of my friends who love it too. Thank you for sharing my stuff. I appreciate you very much for doing that. My question is if you think it is important to consider what other people want for you when choosing a partner. For example, I'm Jewish and used to find it limiting searching for someone who was both Jewish and met my criteria. When I did, I was pleased because it made both me and my family happy. I consider myself very lucky." Renata, I consider you very lucky too. "However, I have seen some of my friends struggling to do the same and it ends up very frustrating because it is such a limited dating pool. To what extent do you think people should reconcile their personal lives with the wishes of their family, or should they at all? Thank you." Awesome question. And it reminds me of one particular story. Again, actually this is from a gay couple, and it was from a set of parents who refused to go to his wedding. They just didn't believe in it, didn't acknowledge his way of life, and going to their marriage would meant they would have had to acknowledge that and accept it. And do you know what would have really happened, or what they were really running from? The parents were running from their own insecurities. They were running from their own fears and their own acknowledgement that their son is gay, and if we acknowledge that and accept that, that makes us less as people. Parents have just as many insecurities as friends and teachers and children. We all have insecurities. But what's a guy to do in that example? Marry a woman to make his parents happy? You can't live in other people's frames. And this includes your parents. Does your family really want you to marry someone who fits the bill for them and makes you unhappy? Deep down, is that really what they want for you? The people that love us don't want us to be unhappy, but they have their own insecurities too. And if you cater to those, you're going to be unhappy in your own life. And it's just going to be a perpetual cycle. You'll probably get older and become resentful of the fact that you did it for your parents, and then you'll expect it of your own children and put the same pressures on them. So be a role model for your friends, be a role model for your own kids, and make yourself happy with your own choices. I've struggled with this with clients because I remember one particular client who her mother was adamant that she must date a Muslim, and it was such an internal struggle for her because she didn't really believe it. And it's one thing if you believe it and if you really want to date a Muslim. Now, I'm all for, or whatever your type is, I'm not a huge fan of types. You know that. I've said that in previous videos. I don't believe that love has to look a certain way or be a certain way. But limiting dating pools are a practical issue. If you live in a town of 500 people, that means there's only 250 men, and that means there's only, 30 available guys? Are you going to find the one in 30 available guys? What are the odds of finding a compatible, right person for you in that field? There's not, right? And if you're finding the same thing with your predisposed idea of the type of race that you should date or the type of person that you should date, and it's getting to such a narrow point where you're talking hundreds or even thousands of men rather than tens of thousands in your vicinity, you're going to limit your dating pool to an enormous extent. And you might be lucky like Renata and find a great person in that pool, but most of the time you won't. And this is why you've got to let go of these old stereotypes. Don't live in other people's frames and go after what you want, because that's what's going to make you happy. And that radiance is ultimately what the people who love you want for you. They're just dealing with their own insecurities too. Amy writes in, hey, so my boyfriend and I have been completely fine for the last 4 months, and all of a sudden he's asked for some time to himself. I've asked why, and it's got to do with my mum interfering with us whenever I'm with him. She always wants to include herself, good Lord, and shows up at his house asking for me when I don't answer her phone calls or when he doesn't want an answer. Amy, I'd be asking for space too. It's annoying on both sides, and he said, I don't get why your mum has to be involved in everything. I see you once a week, and you only see him, Amy, once a week because of work and school commitments. But when I asked to talk, all he said was, there's nothing to talk about. I just don't understand why your mum treats you the way she does. So I don't know if it's me or if there's too much stuff in his head that he needs some time to himself or is reconsidering his relationship. Amy, your mum is your responsibility and it's ruining your relationship. Your boyfriend has literally said, I just don't understand why your mum treats you the way she does. It's because you're letting it happen, Amy. Now, the thing is, I don't know how old you are. You could be a fair bit younger, and your mum, unfortunately, has a lot more influence in your life than maybe you want. But as long as your mum is doing this, she will ruin this relationship and she'll ruin every subsequent one. Guys, you have to control the loved ones in your life when they are the ones causing the issue. It is on you to set the boundaries. It is on you to make clear what you will and won't accept. It is not on your partner, and your partner, just like Amy's partner, is going to become frustrated with it, resentful of it, and eventually just push you away because of it. This is too much meddling, and I think most men would agree with me here that if this was happening to us, we'd be like, no, this is too much, there's no boundaries here. And it's not on him, Amy, it's on you. So hopefully, Amy, that you're old enough that you can have some leeway here and you can talk to your mum and put some clear boundaries in place with this, because this is the only way that you're going to get this back on track. Once you've done that, you then go back to this guy and you say, look, you were absolutely right. I needed to set some clear boundaries in place with my mother, and I had a chat to her, a serious chat, and you have my absolute assurance that she has no more involvement with us. She will not be coming around to your place anymore. She will not be doing XYZ behaviors anymore. That is my assurance to you. And if that happens, then you have every right to break up with me on the spot. That's going to make him rethink his decision. Good question, Amy. Really good question. And this applies to any ex or brother or parent or whoever it is that's getting involved in your relationships. It's on you to set the boundaries. And final question comes from Kali Julian. So we've had some good questions today, guys. Really good. Last one from Kali. I have a question about long distance. Me and my boyfriend have been dating for 1 year and 2 months with no issues whatsoever. We're living in the same town still. He's leaving for university, not sure where. And he's already turned down universities that are further away, I think because he doesn't want to leave me. That's very cute of him. I am worried about him cheating on me still. He wants to be close to home, but still far away. Every time I bring up the idea of him cheating, he gets extremely upset and usually ends up crying. But I don't know what to do as I have very low self-esteem. All I can think of is him cheating on me when he leaves. Do you think this is a good sign? Anything I should be worried about? Yes, Carly, you should be worried because you're slowly but surely ruining your relationship here. Your insecurities, and this is to you and all of you out there, your insecurities are yours. And when he's done nothing wrong, you can't be projecting them onto him and constantly seeking reassurance. It becomes this constant drain on him for him to reassure you, and it's just going to fly the thing into the ground. You've said, I bring up the idea of him cheating and he gets extremely upset and usually ends up crying. I'm sure he does, because he feels like he's not enough because he can't reassure you, and he feels like you don't trust him. So I'm sure he does feel like that. I'd probably feel the same way, and I'd find it very, very hard to deal with if a woman was constantly seeking my reassurance. What you've got to do, Carly, is you've got to remember, and I talk about this in the long distance video that I promise will be out soon, guys. It's in the queue. I was editing it yesterday. But one of the key points of that is you have to be your own source of reassurance. When you transition from an in-person relationship to a distance relationship, you are now becoming your own source of reassurance, much more so than you were when the two of you were together. You're taking on more of that role for yourself. And Carly, if you've said you have low self-esteem here, this is going to be especially tough for you, but it's the only way that you're going to be able to save this relationship and stop putting so much pressure on the poor guy. Now, instead of worrying, is he going to cheat on me? He should be worrying, is he going to cheat on you? And I don't mean that in a like he's concerned that he won't be able to control himself way. I mean that in a he knows that if he does that, he's screwed the relationship over and he's going to lose you. That's the high value way to look at it. It's like, if he cheats on me, he's giving me away. Me. What an idiot. Right? You've got to remember your value here, because you're coming at this from a place where I have no value and he's this big prize and he's going away and he's going to cheat and I'm going to lose my prize. You're the prize. You're both prizes, and that includes you. So if he cheats on you, that's a dumb fucking move on his part. Right? You know, you can come back to him and communicate this too. You can say, look, boyfriend, I know I've been acting up a bit lately and I apologize. They're my insecurities and I need to get on top of them, and I have been doing that. You might even say, hey, I've been talking to someone about them and it's totally my shit, so I'm not putting this on you anymore. That was wrong of me. I've come to realize that as a woman, if you cheat on me, that's your mistake and your loss, but it's not something I can ever control. So wherever you are, I want us to work. I believe we're going to work, but you know, if you're dumb enough to do that, I've realized that's something I can't control, and I just need to let go because you'll lose me if you do that. So I just want to say that I have total trust in you, total faith, and you won't be hearing about this insecurity from me again. That is going to impress the hell out of the dude, attract him to you, and make him feel secure and trusted by you again. Thank you so much for the great questions. They're just coming in left, right, and center, you guys. I had to put 4 in today because they all have such different and interesting points to them. So I really wanted to cover all bases with today's questions, and I really hope you learned something out of it. Let me know if you did, or even if you didn't. Pop thoughts in the comments below, pop your questions below, hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe. Hit the little bell so you get notifications of new videos as well. Guys, this is Ask Mark. We've got some awesome videos coming out, and I will see you again right here in 1 week's time.